Yo guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're continuing our password manager FlexPass. In part 1, we built the core system of our password manager: authentication, encryption, the vault, and also our CLI, that is the command line interface menus. Today, we're leveling up our password manager with some improvements and polish. So let's dive right in. Alright guys, so if you remember from part 1, we have not validated inputs within our password manager. So right here where we're in our startup menu, if we tried to enter an invalid option, let's say we type something random like this and we press enter on our keyboard, our password manager would crash. And that's because we haven't implemented input validation as yet. We can clear the screen. Let me just rerun the password manager again. And let's still log in as a user. Let's say Alex. The password for Alex is test1234. We press enter. You see it says Alex has been authorized successfully and welcome Alex. And we can either add credentials, view credentials, delete credentials, and also log out of Alex's account. But let's say we tried to type something invalid again. It will still crash because we have not validated inputs as yet. So let's start implementing input validation. So let's open up our menu system source code. It's stored in the menu.py file. We can type vim menu.py to open it, and we can do colon set number to set the number line in vim, and we can press I to get into insert mode. So let's go down into where we're handling our input. So in our startup menu function, this is where we're handling or taking input from the user. So right here guys, to actually validate this input right here, we could actually wrap this into a try-catch statement. So we can add a try and then a colon, and we could put our option inside of here. So we could try to do something like this, and then we could say except, and then we could do something like print the option that you gave is invalid, please try again. And then once we do this guys, we can simply test out our source code now. So I'm just going to cd into FlexPass manager, and let me zoom in a bit, clear the screen, and we can do python 3 flexpass.py, and let's see if our input validation is working. It says the option that you gave is invalid, please try again. Alright, so it says cannot access local variable option where it is not associated with a value. That's because guys, within our try-catch block, instead we need to define our option variable up here. So we can say option equals to none, and then we can try to get input from the user, and if it does not fail, then we store the input inside of this variable. Otherwise, if it fails, we simply just print out right here. And now guys, we can actually just write the code, and we can rerun our code. And now let's try to enter something, and you can see that the option that you gave is invalid, please try again. Nice. So we are validating the input now. We can enter anything, and because guys, we are actually checking only if the option is equal to a specific number. That is why it does not say the option that you give is invalid, please try again. So we could actually make it say something about that as well. We could say else if we could just do a else right here, and we could actually just say print the option that you gave is invalid, please try again, exclamation mark, and we can write our code, and let's try to rerun it. We cannot exit for some reason. All right, that's because the input validation mechanism, instead we have to press 3 to exit, or enter 3 to exit. So now we can rerun our code. So python 3 flexpass.py, and let's try to enter a number now that's not valid, and it says the option that you gave is invalid, please try again. We can enter 5. Option that you gave is invalid, please try again. So it's actually working, guys. We can press Control C, but it will say the option is invalid. So we have to press 3 to exit instead. Alright, so that basic validation is working. So let's try to test out some other validation stuff or fix it. So we can try to log in as a user. Let's say Alex, and let's say we enter a password. Is password test 1 2 3 4, and let's try to add a credential right here, guys. This is where we haven't handled the inputs properly as yet. So we'll need to fix this issue right here. And the reason we got this issue, guys, type error cannot unpack non-iterable non-type object, is because where we are calling our add credential function, or ask credential function, we haven't handled the return value of it. And also we will need to validate these inputs inside of our ask credential function as well, because suppose the user was entering the platform name. Let's say they entered, I don't know, G instead of Gmail, and they wanted to correct that issue. My solution to this is that we could ask them twice for each of the credentials or parts of the credential that they want to have. So we could say enter the platform name, and then we could say something like enter the platform name again, and then for the username we ask them again. So for each properties that we are asking for a credential, we would simply ask them twice in order to confirm it, just like we are doing with the password right here. And then we would simply implement retries, so that in case of any issues we can start all over again. So let's actually implement this solution. Starting with the platform name, we can actually put this into a infinite loop to handle the number of attempts, and we could actually do this for each one of our properties. So we could say while true, and we could simply indent our platform name right there. Now wrapping each one of these properties for our credential into a infinite loop is not the most elegant solution, but since we're implementing the core functionality, we can keep it like this for now. Later we can optimize. So we can simply ask for the platform name, and then we could confirm the platform name again. So we could say of a if statement right here, and we could say if input, we could say enter the platform name again, colon, and then we could say is equal to the platform name. So if the result of the input is equal to the platform name, then we could simply break out of our loop, because that would mean that our platform name is actually valid. But guys, we need to actually define these properties above here before putting it inside of our while loop, since we're going to be returning those properties from our askCredential function, because we could get the error where we have this like the properties is a local variable. So instead we have to define it outside of our loop. So we could say platform name equals to none, then we could say username equals to none, password equals to none, which means these are empty objects. So then we could say platform name, and we could validate this again. And let's say the platform name does not match. Right here we could simply do print the platform name you have provided does not match, ... and then we could say something like please try again, and then this would handle the number of attempts, guys. So now we can do the same thing for our username. We can say while true, we can indent our username, and then we could say if input is equal to confirm your username equals to the current username, then we could simply break. Otherwise we could simply do print the username you entered does not match, and then we could say ... and then we could say print please try again ... and then for the password we can do a similar thing. So we could say while true, let's say we could indent the password right here, and then guys we could simply just do print the, we could say password equals to that, then we could simply just break out of this loop. Otherwise we could say the password that you have entered does not match ... and then we could say please try again ... right? So now this should actually handle inputs for us properly. Later on we'll try to make it so that we can even start over in case of anything. So we can just do :w to write in Vim. So let me just clear the screen and we can rerun our program. So let's log in as the user Alex, password test1234, and we can try to add a credential. So we can enter something like F, and it will ask us to confirm the platform name or enter the platform name again. We can enter something like G, and it says the platform name you have provided does not match. Please try again. So our input validation is working for the platform name. So let's try to enter, I don't know, Gmail this time, and then we can enter Gmail again. And it works because it validated that the platform name actually matches. We can enter a username. Let's enter something like alex@gmail.com, and then username, let's enter something else. Let's say, I don't know, F something invalid. The username you entered does not match. Nice. So we can enter alex@gmail.com this time, and let's make it be right this time. And then for the password we can do the same thing. We can enter something that doesn't match. Password that you have entered does not match. Nice. So now let's try to enter something that matches. I don't know, 1234, 1234. And you can see, guys, it's actually working. So our input validation for our add credential option is working properly now. So let's try to view a credential. For example, let's say one for Gmail, one for that. And yeah, it's actually stored the password, guys. alex@gmail.com 1234. Cool. So now we'll also need to implement input validation for the view credentials option. So let's enter 2 and let's see where we need to actually validate input. So let's say we entered something like this. For example, when we're selecting a platform, you can see that we got an error if we entered something invalid. So let's actually fix that, guys. So option 2 would be our view credentials function. So let's go to our view underscore credentials function and let's see where we're actually taking user input. So right here you can see that we are selecting a platform. And we are also asking for to select a credential for that particular platform. Then we're simply displaying the credential that we selected. Now guys, a thing about the view credentials option, instead of just returning back to the original vault, let's say we had like 1,000 passwords for Alex. We do not want to just return each time outside of this view credentials option. Instead, we want it to be running in an infinite loop, and only when the user tries to go back to the main login screen, then they would be able to come back right here. But instead, we're going to make it so that we can repeatedly view different credentials. So let's actually implement this right now. Alright guys, so let's think about how we can actually implement this. So let's actually put this into an infinite loop. So we could say something like while true, and then we could print out our platforms or different options. And we could actually put all of this into the infinite loop. So we can indent it just like that. And we can validate the platform ID. So let's think about how we can do this. We will need to be able to go back to the main vault menu, guys. So in this case, we will need to get rid of this integer conversion within our input. And what we can do, guys, we could check to see if the platform ID is equal to, let's say, buck. Then I don't know, we could simply just return platforms. But otherwise, we could simply try to do something like this. So we could have a try block right here, and then we could set our platform ID equals to int platform ID -1, and then we could do a exception right here, and then we could say something like print the platform ID provided is invalid. And then we could say something like, please, let's have another print statement. So we could say print, please try again, ... And then we could have a continue block. So then this thing would get repeated again and ask us to select a platform again once this continue block runs. And also, guys, we'll need to validate the platform ID also, because what if the user inputs a number that is not in the range of the platform count? So in order to validate this, what we could do a range check. So we could say if platform ID, let's say is less than the is greater, let's say greater than or equal to the is greater than or equal to the platform count, then we could simply do print the platform ID provided is invalid, ... print please try again, ... and then we could simply continue, and we could still validate the platform ID again, because what if the user inputs a negative number, for example? We could simply say something like if platform ID is equal to is less than our platform count. Actually, guys, we could do something like this instead. We could say if the platform ID is greater than or equal to the platform count, and we could say or platform ID is less than let's say 0, then that means what we inputted is an invalid option, so we could try again. And then right here we could, if the platform ID is valid, we could get the platform name, and then we could get the credential for this platform name. And then after doing this, let's actually add a note above here. So we could add a note, say something like type back to go back to the main menu ... and then after doing this, when the user enters back, guys, it would return back us to the main menu. So then we could simply, let's see, we could simply start selecting a credential now. Now, to select a credential, guys, what if we wanted to go back to selecting a platform? One way we could do this is we could do something like this. So we could get rid of this integer conversion right here, and we could simply say if the credential, so credential underscore ID, let's see, is equal to a back command, then we would simply just continue. So that would make us go back up to the top of the infinite loop, and it would ask us to enter a platform again, or select a platform again. So then in this case, we will need to also add a note right here. So we could say type back to go back to selecting a platform option ... And then after doing this, we could say if this doesn't fail, then we could just add a try block right here. So try, and then we could say except, and then we could try to convert the platform ID in the credential ID, I mean. So credential underscore ID into an integer. So int credential ID -1. And then if it fails, we could simply say print the credential ID you entered is not valid, ... So we could do print, please try again. And then let's see, we will need a way, guys, to skip this up here. So select a platform option. So what we could actually do in this case, we could create another infinite loop inside of here. We could say while true, then we could print out our credential options, and we could simply just indent all of this in here. So could just go right here. Now to actually go back, guys, we would get rid of this continue statement and it would just break out of this infinite loop. So then it would go back into this main loop, and then after doing that, yeah, we would be able to select a platform again. We don't even need to return a platform, right? The platforms object right here, we could simply just break right here as well. And yeah, we will need to do a range check now on the credential ID. So let's see how we can do this. We could simply say if the credential ID is greater than or equal to the credential count, then we could simply say, well, let's say it's greater than the credential count and the credential ID is less than the credential. Wait, actually, we can check if the credential ID is less than 0. And instead of a AND statement, we can say OR. And then we could simply say print the credential ID you entered is invalid, ... Print, please try again, ... Well, let's add a ... up here. And we could simply just continue. So continue right there. And then continue right there. So whenever our credential ID is invalid, it will simply just go back to the beginning of this infinite loop. Right? Wait, yeah, that's it. And then this way we could actually, let's see. But right here, guys, we're checking if the platform ID is greater than or equal to the platform count. This should actually be if the platform ID is greater than the platform count, because in this case would be subtracting 1 from the platform ID, which would make it a 0 base indexed. So we need to make it be greater than instead of greater than or equal to. And since we're subtracting 1 from the platform ID, guys, and we're checking right here if it is less than or equal to 0, this means that 0 would be an invalid option. So therefore, in our credential validation loop, we could actually make this be a less than or equal to 0 instead of a less than 0. So we can actually test this out now. So let me just clear the screen and then we can rerun our code. So let's try to log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4. Right, so we're logged in successfully. And let's try to view a credential. Let's say we entered something invalid. It says the platform ID provided is invalid. And then it asks us All right, let's try to type back and go back to the main menu, and it works. Nice. So let's try and try to enter a proper platform ID. Let's say 1. It says the platform ID provided is invalid still. Why is that? All right, let's go up here and see what's actually going on. So we have a else right here. We check if the platform ID is equal to buck, then we would break. Otherwise, we try to do something like this. We actually don't even need this else statement right here, since whenever the platform ID is equal to buck, or it is not equal, we would actually exit outside of this loop. But if it is not equal to buck, we would still try to do this no matter what. So we can have a try right here, and then we could have the platform ID, and we can just continue right there. Right, so now let me just try to rerun the code, so we can go try to log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4, and then we can try to view a credential. We can select one for Gmail, but it says the platform ID provided is invalid. Let's see what's actually going on. We say if the platform ID is greater than the platform count, or the platform ID is less than or equal to 0. This is actually what's causing the problem, because when we try to subtract 1 from 1, it would become 0. So what we actually need is platform ID is less than 0. So now it should work. If we try to log in, we can log in as Alex, test 1 2 3 4 for the password. Now we can view a credential, select a platform. Let's enter something invalid for now. We can enter an invalid option. We got an error because we haven't validated the range property. So let's log in as Alex again, test 1 2 3 4, view a credential, and then after doing this we can select one for Gmail, and you can see it actually gives us the option as Alex. Let's try to enter back to go back to the platform selection, and you can see we're at Gmail right there. We can select one for Gmail again, and then we can select one for Alex, and it says credential ID you entered is invalid. Let's see if it's a similar situation like before. Alright, so we're checking to see if the credential ID is greater than the credential count. We subtract 1 from the credential ID, which would be 0, and then we say or the credential ID is less than or equal to 0. This should be less than 0 instead. So now we can clear the screen, and let's try to rerun our code. We can log in as Alex, test 1 2 3 4, view a credential, Gmail. We can try to select one for the user Alex, and you can see it says the credential is this. Nice. Cool. So now we can actually go back to the platform option. Let's type back and see if we go back to the platform. Nice. If we type back, we should be back into the main menu. Alright, so there's another validation that we need to do. It is the range validation for the platform ID. So let's validate this input. So let's see. We check if the credential ID is greater than the credential count. Let's actually get the creds.json file to see how many platforms is actually present for the user Alex. And we can see in our JSON input that there is only one single platform, which is Gmail. So let's see what happens. Alright, so we have an index error for some reason. Alright, so let's look at our platform ID. We check to see if the platform ID is greater than the platform count. 1 would not be greater than the platform count, but then after doing this we subtract 1, right? We get the platform name. Okay, return platforms platform ID, and that's at index where? Yeah, that's at line 8 and 9 in our manager.py. So we get the platform name from the platform ID. Okay. Alright, let's actually print out this platform ID and see what's actually going on. So print platform ID, and we can rerun our codes. So we can log in as the user Alex, test1234. We can view a credential, and we can select a platform. So 1, and let's enter an invalid option. Wait, I made a mistake. We can log in as Alex, test1234, view credential. We can enter 2, and we can see that we printed out 1. And that is out of the range. Okay. Yeah, so we entered 1. Platform ID is that. So what we actually need to do, we need to say if the platform ID is actually greater than or equal to the platform count. And we need to also do this for the credential ID as well. So we can run our code now. We can log in as the user Alex, test1234 with Alex, test1234. And then we can view the credential. We can type 2, and you can see now it actually validates the platform ID. All right, we can enter 5, we can enter anything, and it will actually still validate the input for us. We can enter the correct option, 1, and you can see it validates it. Let's try to input 2 for the credential. 4, it actually validates the credential ID as well. We can enter something else, actually validates it properly. We can select an actual valid option, and you can see that it actually retrieves the credential for us. And let's try to go back to platform selection, and then we can type back to go back to the main menu. Nice. So the input validation system is actually working. So what we can do, let's try to add another credential for the user Alex. Let's make this one be a Facebook, and we can enter Facebook for the platform name again, username, I don't know, Alex21 at iCloud.com, Alex21 at iCloud.com. And then for the password, we can just enter something like, I don't know, secret1234, secret1234. And now we can try to view the credential. So let's select a platform now. Let's enter an invalid one, 4, for example, 3, for example. Platform ID provided is invalid. Nice. So we can select 2 for Facebook, and we can enter 1 to view the credential, and you can see that it actually retrieves the credential. Let's add a another credential. So we can type back and then back again to go back to the main menu, and we can add a credential. We can add one for Gmail again, and then we can enter Gmail to validate that it's Gmail again, and we can add a new email address or username. I don't know, let's enter, I don't know, johnarcher@gmail.com, and then johnarcher@gmail.com. Oh, I made a mistake. It says the username you entered does not match. Johnarcher at, okay, I see. So we can enter johnarcher@gmail.com, johnarcher@gmail.com, and then for the password we can enter, I don't know, let's see, let's try to enter something, I don't know, water 2019, water 2019. And now we can try to view the credential. So we can enter one for Gmail. Let's try to input something invalid. Let's say 3, for example. A credential ID you entered is invalid. Cool. Now it says we should select an option again. We can enter 2 for John Archer. And you can see it actually retrieves John Archer's @gmail.com password for Alex, right? So we can type back to go back to selecting a platform. We can select 2 for Facebook. We can select 1 for that, and we can actually retrieve the credential for it. We can type back to go back, and then back to go back to the main menu. Nice. So now, guys, another thing we want to validate is the delete credentials option. So because if we enter something invalid right now, you can see that it actually crashes the password manager. So let's actually start doing this. So guys, to implement the validation for the delete credential functionality, let me just log in as the user Alex again, and let me just log in. So 3, we enter the delete credential functionality. It will simply ask us to choose a platform, right? So in this case, we can actually choose a platform right here. And let's say we choose Facebook, but then we want to actually prevent the program from crashing, right? So let's go into the delete credentials function, and right here we could simply check right here. So we could wrap this into a try-catch statement. So we could say something like try except, and then we could say, wait, let's actually put the platform ID up here instead. And we can get rid of this integer conversion. So then right here we could just do try, and then we could say platform ID equals to int platform ID -1, and then we could have an exception. So we could say print the platform ID entered is invalid ... and then we could say please try again, and then we could simply continue. So then this means that we will need to put this into an infinite loop also, right? So we could say while true, and then we could do something like that. So we could indent all of this right here. Right. And then right here, we need to ensure that the platform ID is actually within the valid range of the platform count. So to do this, we can say if the platform ID is greater than or equal to, let's see, like we did up here, is greater than or equal to the platform count, or the platform ID is less than 0, then we could say print the platform ID is invalid ... print please try again ... and then we could continue. Right, and then after doing this, we can simply get the actual platform name from the platform ID, and then we could ask the user to select a credential. So right here we could actually put this into an infinite loop. Let's actually put this print platforms into the infinite loop as well. So while true, and then right here we could simply have another while true loop. So while true self.print credentials, and then we could say something like that. Right, nice, cool. Right, so now we could say if the credential ID is invalid, right? So we'll get rid of this integer conversion right here for now, and then instead we'll put this in a try except loop, try except block, I mean, and then we could say credential ID equals to int credential ID -1, and then we could say print the credential ID is invalid ... print please try again, and then we could simply continue. And then we'll need to validate the credential ID range based on the credential count. So to do this, we can say if the credential ID is greater than or equal to the credential count, or the credential ID is less than 0, then we can simply say print the credential ID is invalid ... and then print please try again ... and then we can continue. And then right here we can simply print out the actual credential, right? So now we can just do something like that. Nice. So let's see, let's go into our actual menu, right? Alright, and let's go back to the delete credentials function. Now, what if we wanted to go back to select a platform like we did with the view credentials thing? We could actually do a similar thing. So we could say print type back to go back to the main menu, and then we could say if platform ID is equal to back, then we could simply do return none, and then otherwise we could just try to validate the input further. And then for the credential ID, if we want to select a platform again, we can go right here. We can say if the credential ID is equal to buck, then we can simply just break. So then it would go into this outer loop right here. And then it would ask us to select a platform again. So we'll need to also add a note again. So we could say type back to go back to platform selection, And then, yeah, that should be it for now. So let's see. We'll actually need to even modify this removed thing that we're returning. And what is that removed variable actually? So it actually just returns a value if we successfully removed a credential. And we actually don't need to do this. We could actually get rid of this return removed thing right here. Yeah. Because we just need to print out stuff in order to validate those things, right? So now we can try to rerun our code. So python 3 flexpass.py, we can try to log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4, and we can test out or delete credentials now. So let's enter something that's not valid. It says the platform ID entered is invalid. Nice. Let's enter a invalid range. Platform ID is invalid. Nice. Please try again. Cool. All right, let's enter Facebook. And it actually selects that platform for us and displays the email address. Let's enter something that's not valid. Credential ID is invalid. Cool. All right, let's enter an invalid range. Nice. It actually works. Let's enter 1 for the user Alex, and it says it removed Alex21 at iCloud. Cool. But there's actually an issue with this though, because there are no more credentials to print. So we are stuck in the select credential thing anyways, and we have to type back to actually go back to the platform, right? So that's actually an issue. So let's see how we can actually resolve this. Alright, so whenever we remove a credential, let's see what we could do. What we could actually do, guys, we could say something like, if the, let's see, self.manager.getPlatform, right? So self.manager.remove credential. So we could simply say credentials equals to self.manager.get_platform, and then we could get the platform name again. And then after doing this, we can say if the length of the credentials is equal to 0, then we could simply just break out of this loop. So therefore, whenever the credentials becomes empty, then it would go back to the platform selection menu. All right, so let's just type back. All right, and now let's try to log out. Let's try to exit. Nice. So what we can actually do is, let's try to rerun our code again, and then we can type 2 to log in. We can log in as the user Alex, and then we can type test 1 2 3 4. Can add a credential, platform Facebook. We can add alex21 at icloud.com. Wait, actually we should enter the platform name again. So Facebook, then alex21 at icloud.com, alex21 at icloud.com. Password, let's make it be something simple, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. And then we can say to view credentials. Let's see. Right, nice. So Yeah, it's actually working, guys. We can type back to go back to the main menu. We can try to delete that credential now. So we can type 2 for Facebook and then 1 for the credential we want to remove. All right, and now it says, so it returned us back to the platforms menu. So there it is, select a platform and everything like that. Nice. That's actually good, guys. So we can type back. All right, let's see if we actually validated this part right here. Yeah, we actually validated this part. Wait, no. So we need to actually validate for the main menu, the main login screen, I mean. So let's do this, guys. So let's navigate into our vault menu, and what we can actually do is, instead of trying to convert this into an integer, at the same time we can just say something like this. We can say, let's see, we can say if wait, let's try a try except loop. We can say if let's see. Oh, we can actually still make this an integer, guys. So we can actually perform the integer conversion still. So what we can actually do, we can say try I think it's better to do this because we don't want to have any errors saying cannot access a local variable. So it's better to do the conversion inside of a try except loop after we have got the input. So we can say try option equals to int option, and then if it fails we can say print the option you entered is invalid, please try again ... and then we can simply just continue, and then down here we can have a else. We can say print the option you entered is invalid, please try again ... Nice. And now we can try to rerun our code. So python 3 flexpass.py. We can try to log in. So we log in as the user Alex, and then we could say test1234 for his password. Nice. So now we can try to enter something, and you can see, guys, it's actually validating our input properly. Nice. So let's try to log out. So now, all right, why is it printing out the option you gave is invalid, please try again 2 times? Let's see what's actually going on. Let's see. Option you gave is invalid, please try again. Okay, so this is actually here. Okay. All right. So we try to convert it into an integer. Nice. And right here, this is actually causing the issue, guys. We can get rid of this right here. So we can delete that else statement there. And now this should actually solve the issue that we're having. So we can clear the screen and we can rerun our code. All right, let's see. Okay, let me just indent this properly. And we can rerun our code. Nice. All right, so now we can try to enter something invalid. Nice. And it's actually working. Can enter a big number. Nice. And it's actually validating it, right? Wait, but it doesn't say anything for the number. Let's see, why is that? Okay. Oh, yeah, I see. Let's actually undo that else statement, guys. So we should have this else right here, but the except will only occur if the exception will only occur if the integer conversion failed. So therefore, right here we would need to do what? We would need to just simply return outside of here, because our startup menu, let's see, our startup menu is actually being called right here. So yeah, we can simply just return, right? Yeah, that's actually it. So we can simply just return. So now we can type 3 to exit, and we can rerun our code. And now we can try to enter a really huge number, and it says the option that you gave is invalid. Please try again. Cool. So it's actually validating our options properly. Nice. So let's try to log in again. Can type Alex, master password is something like that. All right, so it's actually working good, guys. So let's enter a simple password. So Alex test 1 2 3 4. Nice. And it seems like each one of our input validation functions are actually working now. So yeah, I think input validation is actually complete. The next thing we'll do is actually try to color our menu options, maybe with some Ansi escape codes or so on and so forth. So we'll try to design this a bit more prettier, just make it more fancy, you know, instead of this white text and a black background or stuff like that. So let's actually start making our menus more colorful. So let me just log out and exit out of this. We can clear the screen, and let's start implementing this color system. So guys, before we actually start implementing this coloring system, let's discuss what Ansi escape codes are. So in Linux, if we type mon console_codes, this should tell us about Ansi codes. And Ansi codes, guys, are basically a way that we can modify certain terminal properties or control certain things in our terminal and how it is displayed. So if we go down all the way, let's try to search for color. We have something that's called Ansi escape codes or Ansi escape sequences. And with these, we can actually set the color for certain things. For example, we can set a red foreground color by using the escape character. Let me show you guys. So if we search for escape followed by a open bracket, and then we can actually type out a number right here, and then we can end it with the M letter. So let me demonstrate how Ansi escape codes work to you guys. So let me just write a test Python program. So vim test.py, and let me just set the number line. So suppose, guys, we wanted to print out a message in a particular color. We can actually type print, and then we can actually type /0033, and this would be the escape character that we see right here. So it's right here. That represents the escape character, but this is in the octal code version, right? So now we can have a open squared bracket, and then we could have, let's say, a color. So if we look on our console codes page, we can see that a red foreground color is represented by the number 31. So if we put a 31 followed by an M, that should end the color for us, or start the color. And then we can write a message, let's say hello world. And if we write our code and we try to run our test script, let me just zoom in a bit, you can see that we printed hello world in the color yellow. Alternatively, we can try to set it to 32, and you will see that we'll get a green text. So we can run our code and you see that we get hello world in a green text. Now, there's also another way that we could actually set the color by using RGB, that's red, green, blue values. And we can actually use this 48 or 38 actually to set the foreground color. So we can actually come up here and let's say we put 38 right here. Now the 38, guys, we have to follow a command parameter, right? So here are the command parameters that the 38 command follows, and you can see it also gives us 48, which we can use to set the background color of the terminal also. So we can add a semicolon, and then we can set certain values within a particular range, but this is the RGB version. Let's see how we can use it. So right where we have our 38M, we can add a semicolon, and then we can add a 2 followed by a RGB value, so RGB. So we can look in our man page and we can see that it's in the range of 0 to 255. So let's say we wanted to print out something in the color, let's say yellow. We can mix red with green, and we could get a yellow value. So if we run our code, you'll see that we get a yellow hello world printed onto the screen. And now that we know the basics of Ansi escape codes, guys, we can actually start implementing it inside of our actual password manager. So let's begin. Alright, so let's start by coloring the menu options. So currently, if we run our program, you can see that it's just displaying white text. So we can actually use our Ansi escape codes to actually color this. So maybe we could actually make this the squared bracket to be green, and the inner text or the number inside of it be yellow. So let's try doing that. So we could do /03332M for green, and then we could say /03332M, and then for the color we can say /03333M, but this would actually be the color brown in the terminal, guys, instead. But if we run our code, it will kinda look like yellow. Now, why is everything colored in green? That's because there is a Ansi escape code color sequence that we need to do in order to reset our color back to the default. So we can do /033 0M to reset the color of the terminal. So if we run our code now, you'll see that it actually changes. But let's say we wanted our color to actually be brighter. We can actually use RGB to do this. So let me show you. So we can actually change this from 32M to 38M. And we can add a semicolon followed by a 2 and then another semicolon for the red value. Now, if we want to make this green, remember this is in RGB, guys. We can actually add a we can actually leave this empty and we can add a semicolon. So now we'll set the green value. Now 255 would be the brightest for the color green. So now we can add a semicolon and then we can end it with this M letter. And if we run our code now, you'll see that it actually gets brighter. See? Now we can do the same for the closed squared bracket. So we can add a 38 followed by a semicolon, then a 2, and then we can provide the RGB values. So for the RGB value, we can make this be yellow. So we can make 255 for red, which would give the brightest red, and then we can add 255 for green, which would make the brightest green. So mixing those two color would give us a yellow, but we're actually coloring the squared bracket, so we just need to set the green option for now. So if we rerun our code, you'll see that it actually gave us red instead. Sorry about that. It's because we set the red parameter instead. It should be the green parameter. So if we rerun our code now, you'll see that we get a brighter green. Now let's make the number actually brighter. So let's make it a yellow color. We can do /033 and then we can say 38M. And then right for the parameters of that command, we can add a 2 to indicate that we want to use RGB format, and then we can add a 255 for red and a 255 for green. So now this should give a bright looking yellow. So if we run our code now, you can see that it actually looks a lot brighter. Nice. Now we could actually highlight these a bit more, like the create account, login and everything. Let's make it a brighter white. So to do this, we can actually, let's get rid of this reset for now. So we can add a 38M right here. And then we could actually do something like, let me actually put this in a different print statement so that you guys can see it properly. So we can do print and then we can add a F string, but then we don't want to print out a new line, so we'll set the end character equal to an empty string, or end string equal to an empty string. So we can add 38, then we can set the RGB color. So for red, we could actually set this to 255, green 255, and then blue 255. Now this mixed together would give us a white color. So if we run our code now, you'll see that it kind of gets brighter. But why is this going on multiple lines? Why is that? Let's actually see. That's because we need to add a end right here, which means we'll need to also get rid of this end for the last print statement. So if we press 3 to exit now, you'll see that it actually colors it a lot better. Now, if you notice, it's actually making everything else a brighter white. Why is that? That's because we need to reset the color. So to do this, we can do /033 0M. And if we rerun our code, let me just exit. You will see that it actually resets it right here. Now, I think it actually looks better when we try to print out the select option prompt with that bright color. So I'm just going to copy it. Let me just copy this, and let me just go down into where we're actually printing out that select option. And we can simply just paste it in here. Now, we'll need to reset this color after we have done that. So we'll do /033 0M to reset. And yeah, it should work now. Hold on. Right, so we got an error. Oh, I see. That's because we're putting, let's see, we're putting the color inside of the curly brackets in our F string at line 53. So we need to move this out of the actual F string. Right, so now if we run our code, it should work now. Nice. So you can see, guys, we can type in it now. And let's actually design it for the vault menu. So let's log in and see what we can do. So we could actually make this be similar to up here. So we could make this be green, yellow, and all of that. So let's actually do that. So let's go into the print vault menu function, and right here we can actually do /033 38M, and then we can add a semicolon followed by a 2 to indicate that it is RGB format that we want. And then we can add a 255 for green. And then for the color, we can add a /0 for the number, we can add a /033 38 2 semicolon semicolon, and then another semicolon. So to make this yellow, we simply add a 255 for red and 255 for green. And then we can add a M right here. And then we can do this for the closed squared bracket. So /033 38M, then a semicolon 2. So we can add a 255 for green right there. And then we can set the white color. So /033 38M 2 semicolon semicolon M, and then we can add 255 255 255, and now we can try to reset this. So it's /033 0M, and we can try to exit, and let's try to log in as the user Alex. So Alex test 1 2 3 4, and we actually made a error, but it's actually coloring properly. So let's see why did that happen. That's because we ended the 38M right here. We need to put the M at the end instead. So now if we try to log in as Alex, test 1 2 3 4, you can see that it's actually coloring properly now. So yeah, we can actually color this even a bit more. So let's do this for the select option. So for the select option, in the vault menu, we can do a... Oh, by the way, guys, I want to show you something. So we can actually, instead of doing /033, we can actually use a Unicode escape sequence in Python to actually represent the escape character. So we can actually type /u001b, and then we could actually write a color. So we can actually put like 38 right here, followed by a 2 to represent RGB. And then we could add a 255, 255, 255 for white, and then M, or basically any option we want for our escape sequence. So if we rerun our code, guys, let me show you. We can try to log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4, and nothing happened for some reason. But let me show you something. Oh, I see. We actually needed to... We added an extra semicolon. That's why that happened. So we can try to log in as Alex, test 1 2 3 4, and you can see it actually does what we actually need. Now, for our select option, guys, or our input field, we could actually color these colors right here. Maybe we could actually make the numbers be red. So let me just do this. So for inside of here, we can add a /033 31M. Let's make it be red. And then we can add a /033 31M. Let me just get rid of this /u001b for consistency. So /033 instead. And now, guys, since there's a dash in between here, we'll need to reset that dash's color. So we can do /033 0M, and let's see what happens. We can log out, 3 to exit, and let's try to log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4, and you can see it's actually coloring those numbers in red. But we'll actually need to reset the color and make it a bright white also. So let me just try to copy this. Well, let me just try to copy this. So yeah, let me just paste this. And we can actually go right down here. And we can actually paste that white color in. Wait, it should actually come right there. Wait, it should actually go right there. So now if we try to rerun our code, we can try to exit. We can try to log in as the user Alex, and then we can type in the password. And it actually works, but we need to get rid of that S right there. So let me just delete that. Can try to log in again. So we log in as the user Alex. So test 1 2 3 4, and you can see it actually colors our prompt correctly. Now let's try to do this for also the login or the startup screen. So instead, I'm just going to copy this entire prompt, guys. And I'm just going to go into the startup screen where we have our input field. And I'm just going to paste this in. Now, instead, let's see, self.vault options. This should be self.startup options instead, since we copied that. Yeah, so now, if we try to rerun our code, we can try to log out, exit, and now you can see it's actually coloring our prompt. Now, maybe we could actually do something for our ASCII art, guys, and also our version information. So let's actually do this. We can actually add the RGB color up here. So we can actually make this a brighter yellow. So we can add a 38 right here, and then we can add a 2 to represent RGB, and then a 255 for red, 255 for green, and empty for blue. So that would give us a bright looking yellow. And if we try to exit and we try to rerun our code, you'll see that this ASCII art looks a lot brighter. And we can actually do something for this version information also. So let's go into where we're actually printing out the version information. And we can add a /0, 33, 38, 2, and then we can add a 255 for red, 255 for green, and then a M to actually start that color. So now we can actually run our code, and you can see our version information looks a bit more better. Now, for the semicolon, we could actually probably reset this. So we can do /033.0M to reset it. And then for the actual color, let's actually make this a red color. So /033.31M. And let's see how this actually looks. So let's log out. We can clear the screen, rerun our code. All right, it looks a lot better. I think we could actually make this a bit brighter instead. So there's actually another Ansi escape color code sequence that we can use. We can use /033, so that's the escape sequence, followed by a squared bracket, and then 1M to make it bright. So let's see how this looks. You can actually see it works, guys. It even made this a little brighter. But let's reset the color. And it should actually solve that issue. So we can do /033.0M at the end to reset, and we can log out. We can try to rerun our code, and you can see, wait, it's actually doing it on the create account instead. Wait, /033.1M. Wait, create account. Oh, it's actually working, guys. Yeah, it's actually working. Right, so we can actually even give this version number a spacing, or a new line, I mean. So let's add a new line character in between our options. And wait, hold on a minute. This should be, so print out our version right there. Oh, I see, guys, why it wasn't actually highlighting our version number. It's because we're printing it differently. Instead, we'll need to actually do something like this. Let's actually put our version information in a F string. So it should go right here, and then after doing this, we can add a /03330M, and that should actually color everything for us. So I'm just going to clear the screen, and you can see the version number actually looks a lot bolder, guys. So let me just add a space right here. We can rerun our code, and you can see it actually looks different. Now, after doing this, we can actually add a new line character to add a spacing in between here. So let's see. Nice. So it looks more better. Probably we should even add another space right here, below our last option. So we could just simply do a print statement, and that should do it. Yeah, and it looks more better. And let's add a little bold coloring in between our numbers also. So I'm just going to come down right here. So let's do it for our vault menu, also in our startup menu, right? So right here we can do /03331M, and then after doing this, we can reset our color. So /03330M, and then we can do this for our startup menu. So we come right here in between, or where we're printing our number, /03331M, and then right here we can reset our color /03330M. And yeah, let's see what's actually happening. So we can try to exit. Alright, so it's actually working, guys. In our startup menu though, why is it not coloring the actual option, right? Oh, I see. It's because we're resetting in between our dash, and it's going to look a lot different now. So we can try to exit, and you can see, guys, it actually looks a little bit more better. Let's try to log in. So we can type Alex, and then we can say test 1 2 3 4, and yeah, it's actually looking a lot better. Let's do it for the vault menu now. So we can go to the vault menu, and right here we can get rid of this reset thing, and now we should actually see a difference. So we can log out, can exit, and now let's try to log in as the user Alex. Right, so now we can enter our username, Alex test 1 2 3 4. Yeah, and it looks a lot more better, guys. Look at that. I think we should actually print out an ASCII art when we're welcoming the user. So let's actually do this. So where we're actually saying welcome, let's see. So when we try to log in, we call self.auth.login, and then after doing that, it prints right here. So we could actually print out the ASCII art when we're inside of our Vault menu, right? So it's actually happening right here. So let's see. We can do print banner, and that should be it. Let's try to rerun our code. We can log in. We can type Alex test 1 2 3 4, and it looks a lot better, guys. It says welcome Alex, and we can add a credential and all of that. Nice. Actually looks a lot more polished. Now, a thing we could actually do, we could probably do some coloring for the add a credential thing, and also for the view a credential also. So if we try to view a credential, we could color these options right here. So let's actually do this. Let's navigate to where we're actually printing those stuff. So we can go in our view credentials function, and we're actually doing this in our print platforms function, right? So we can go to print platforms, and we can actually do this coloring in here. So let's make this be the same color as out here. So for the squared brackets, we can make it be green in RGB. So the brightest value, so /033, we can add a 38M semicolon M. So we can make the green be 255, and then we can add a /033. We need to add a 2 right here, guys, to indicate that we're using RGB. So 38 semicolon 2 semicolon red, and then 255 for green, then a semicolon M, and then for the actual value we can, or the number, we can actually do /033 38 semicolon 2 semicolon M, and we can make this be a bright yellow, so 255 for red, 255 for green, and we'll get a bright yellow. So let's try to test it out again and see if it works. So Alex test 1 2 3 4, we can view the credentials, and it almost works. All right, so let's see what actually happened to our open squared bracket. So we did /038 255. Oh, we actually removed this thing right here, that's why. And for the platform name, we can actually make this be a bright white. So /033 38 2 semicolon 255 255 255 M, and we can reset the color after doing that. So /033 0M, and we can rerun our code. So we can log in as the user Alex, and now we can try to view a credential, and look at that, guys. It looks a lot more better. So now we can actually color these kind of things also. So for the prompt, let's actually do that. So let's actually do this for the print credentials. So we can do /0 33 38. You know something that we should have done earlier, guys? We should have actually put these colors into a variable so that we could actually reuse them. Because these are actually being used a lot of times. Let me just do something real quick. We can actually add a white up here, and we can actually do /0 33 38, and then we can add a 2. So then for white, we can add a 255 for the RGB value, 255 for the green right there, and 255 for the blue. Now for the red, we're not actually using red, but we're using yellow. So we can say yellow equals to this /0 33, and then we can add a 38M 2. Wait, we need to make the M be at the end. So now we can say 255, 255, and now we can add a reset also. So reset would be equal to /0 33 0M. So guys, we can actually just put these variables instead of typing out those long sequences. So then within our print credentials function, print credentials, we can put the green right there, and then we could put the yellow right here, and then we could put the green again right here, and then at the end we could put a white right here, and then at the end we could put a reset. Now wait a minute, let me see something. Did we put green? No, we didn't. So let me just add green to the color list. So green equals to /0 33 38 semicolon 2. Then for the RGB values, we can add a 255 for green right here, and now it should work. So let's actually test this out and see if it works. So we can do something like that. We can log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4. We can try to view a credential. Let's select Gmail. Right. So the print credentials is actually working. Look at that. Wait, why is it showing green for some reason? Is it showing white? I mean, it should show only green for the brackets, right? Let's go back to the print credentials, and let's see what's actually going on. So we added a green right here, and then we added a yellow. Alright, let me just go up here to the green section. Oh, it's because we added 3 instead of 2. To indicate that it's RGB. So now we can try to log in, and now we can try to view a credential. We can try to view that, and you can see it's actually printing out the credentials the right way. Now we'll need to color this prompt, guys. So the select a credential prompt, so let's search for that. select a, so it select a credential. For this, we could actually color this into white. So we could add a white color right here. And then right here, we could make this be red. And then for right here, we could make this be red again. Oh, just red right here. And then we could actually make this be bold. So let's create that red looking color. Right, so for the red color, we can come right here. We can say red equals to /033 31M. And then for the bold color, it will be /033 1M. And let's go down back to where we're selecting the credential. So let's see. In here, we are selecting a credential. Where is that actually? Oh, it's actually in the delete credentials. So at the end right here, guys, we're supposed to do a reset. So we can add a reset right there. Now, within our view credentials, we can do the same process. So we can add a white. And let's actually rename this to, wait, let's leave it as is. I was gonna try to reset it into bright white. So right here, I'm going to set it to red. Right, and now we can add a bold flag. So this is a bold flag right there. And then we could actually just make this a white. And let's see what's actually going on. So can try to log in. So we log in as the user Alex. Wait a minute. Log in as the user Alex. And now we can try to view a credential. We can try to select a platform, and it's actually coloring our credential prompt. Nice. Now we need to do this for the select a platform also. So let's actually do that. So we can make this be white. So we can add a white in our F string, and then for the color we can make this be red, and then we can make this be white, and then we can add a bold, right, and then we can actually add a, yeah, that should be it. So now we can rerun our code, right? We can log in, we can type Alex, test 1 2 3 4, nice. We can select Gmail, and we can actually select a credential, and nice, we're actually printing out everything, guys. Nice, cool. Can see we print alex@gmail.com. Cool. Cool. I think we should actually make everything bold. Let's see how we'll do that. Like for printing out the credentials, so print credentials, we could make this have a bold right here, so we can add a bold there. Then for the platforms, we can also add a bold, and let's actually see how it looks. So we can try to log in, and then we can try to log in as Alex, and now we can view a credential. Yeah, it actually looks a lot better, guys. We can try to go right there. Cool. We select a platform. Wow, it actually looks pretty good. All right. So I think we actually did a lot in terms of actually making this more colorful, guys. There's one other feature I want to implement. Let's try to implement the switch account feature. So let's actually think about how we could do this. So let's add a switch account option within our vault menu or vault options. So we can add a switch account option right there, and we'll need to actually modify our logout number. So we can say something right here, else if option is equal to 3, then we can do print the switch account feature has not been implemented as yet. And let's try to log out. We can try to log in now as the user Alex. And you can see, guys, we have the switch account feature now. Let me actually add a little bit of spacing in between right here, guys. So that's in our vault menu. At the end, we can actually add a print statement for this. So we can say print and that should add a spacing for us. So let me just try to log in as the user Alex. Nice. And now we can try to, try to, let's see, test the switch account feature. Wait, 4, we typed 4 and it logged us out. Oh, I see, we actually, wait, let's see, we typed 4, we logged out. Nice. But it's actually supposed to trigger the switch account, right? So, I see. Wait, switch account. We're actually doing this in the wrong place. It should be in the vault menu function. So this should be else if option is equal to 4, print the switch account feature has not been implemented as yet. And 5 would be the logout option. So now we can try to exit. report. Hold on. So now we can try to log in as the user Alex. And now we can try to switch an account. And it says the switch account feature has not been implemented as yet. Cool. So let's see how we can actually implement this switch account feature. Now, to switch an account, guys, the easiest way to do this is actually to log out, and then we could actually trigger the login for another user. So we can actually do self.logout, and then after doing this, we can actually try to log in. Now, to log in, we can call self.auth.login. So let's see, we can say self.auth.login, because self.logout, guys, let's see, log out. So define logout. It actually logs us out of the current user, and then it would actually trigger the login screen. So this should actually work, guys. Let's test this out. We could actually add a print statement right here also. Let's actually add a F string, and we could make a bold text, and then we could make it be bright white, and then we could say successfully switched into account, exclamation mark. And let's rerun our code. So we can try to log in as a user, Alex test 1 2 3 4. And let's try to switch an account. So it says logged out of the user Alex. Cool. And let's try to wait. Let's check to see if there's any other user accounts first. Because so we can cd into FlexPass manager, and we can cat auth.json. Oh, so there's a user John within our auth.json or database. So we can type the user John, and let's see if I remember the password correctly. John, let's see, 1 2 3 4. All right, so we're logged in as the user John, and you can see, guys, it says you have been authorized successfully, and up here it prints successfully switched into account. Nice. So we can actually switch accounts. Now, why did we log out of a user, guys, and then trigger the login screen to switch into another user? Couldn't we just switch into another user automatically? Well, yes, we could, but that would be insecure, because that would actually defeat the purpose of having a master password, or the purpose of authentication, and that would actually be impossible. Because remember, guys, if we look inside of our creds.json, our passwords are actually encrypted, right? And in order to decrypt those passwords, we would need to authenticate in order to use the master password that is entered to decrypt or view credentials for a user. So that is why the switch account feature would require login, because it needs the master password in order to decrypt or encrypt the passwords. Anyways, though, guys, we have successfully implemented input validation, the color system, and also the switch account feature. So the next thing we'll do, we'll actually factor out these Ansi escape sequences or Ansi escape colors. So like for our print vault, we could actually replace the green color with a format string for the green variable that we have defined up here. So you can see that we defined it right there. And let's continue to factor this out more. So for this number, we know that it should be yellow, so we can add a format string for the color yellow, and then we can add the green right here. And then after doing this, we can add the white. So white goes right here. And then we could actually add a reset. So you guys can see this actually looks a lot cleaner in our code. So, and it's a lot more understandable as well. So for the select an option, it's supposed to be white, so we can factor out this color into the white variable in our format string. And then for this bold, we can actually factor out this bold right there. And this red color, we could actually put red right there. Let's see. So red is 31M, right? So yeah, we can continue to factor this out a bit more. So for the length, it's supposed to be red again. But if we set this to bold, guys, then it would automatically be red. So we shouldn't even need to have another red color right here. But right here we can reset the color, so we can factor this out for the reset. So that should be reset right there, and then we have another white. So right here we can factor this out to white, and this should actually be it. Let's see. Oh, we actually don't even need that reset, to be honest, guys. And yeah, this should be factored out now. So let's do the same factoring for our startup menu input field. So we can see that the input field right here is white. So we can add a white variable there, and then we can add a bold variable inside of our if string, and then a red variable, and then after that we can add a white variable again, so it goes right there. And we can do this for the print startup menu. So for the version, we can replace this with yellow. The version is yellow, so we can factor this out into yellow. And then for right here, we can actually make this be a reset to volume for the color, and then this should be bold, and then this should be red, and we can simply just add a reset right here. And let's see what else we can factor out. Yeah, we can do this for the command options, or the options for the startup menu. So right here we have a color of green, so we can actually factor this option out to green. So we can put green there. And then we could actually put this next color is yellow. So we can factor this out for the yellow color. And then we have green again. So we can factor this out for green. And then we have white. So we can factor this out for white. And then we can actually factor this out for the reset. And let's see where else we need to factor out. To be honest, guys, we could actually even factor out for our banner as well. So we can have a F string right here. And for our yellow color, we can actually put yellow right here. And then for our reset color, we can actually put a reset right here. And let's see if we have factored out everything as yet. So let's see. Alright, so alright, now we can do this for the print platforms. So right here we can see we have a color, and this is green. So we can actually factor this out right here for the color green. And for our option, we can simply put a yellow. And then for our next color, it's green, so we can factor this out for green. And then we have a white color right here, so right where our platform name is, we can put a white, and then we can add a reset. And let's see where else we need to factor out. Right, let's see. Okay. Nice. Alright, so we need to also work on the delete prompt, guys. So let's actually format this as well. So we can simply add a white for the entire prompt, and then for the option ranges we can actually have a bold, and then we could have a red, and then right here we could have a white, and then we could have, let's see, let's actually get rid of this reset. Okay, and yeah, I think we factored out everything now, guys. Let's just review it a bit and see where we didn't factor out. Alright, so we could actually, let's see. Yeah, I think we actually factored out everything now, guys. So let's run our code and try to test it out. There's an issue right here within our FlexPass, within our startup menu. Let's see what's actually happening. So print startup menu. So we're missing a parentheses. Alright, so a parentheses should be right here. And let's try to exit and rerun our code. And now we fixed that issue. Alright, let's try to log in as the user Alex. Test 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Alright, let's try to add a credential. We can enter Gmail. So Gmail, username, alex14@gmail.com. Right. Alright guys, let's try that again. So let me just rerun our password manager. We can log in as the user Alex, test 1 2 3 4. And now we can try to add a credential. Can enter Gmail, alex14@gmail.com, alex14@gmail.com. And then we can enter a password. Let's keep it simple. Let's make it be 1447 1447. And now guys, we can try to delete a credential. So we can select 3 for Gmail and 1 for that. And we can see that our delete credentials, guys, is not coloring properly. This right here should be white, not red. So let's fix that issue. So we can go in our delete credentials. So delete credentials. And let's see. It's when we're asking to select a credential, we should actually make right here be white. And now we can try to rerun our code. So let's log in as the user Alex, and our password is test 1 2 3 4. We can try to delete an account. We can select 3 for Gmail. We can try to select 1 for the account Alex, and you can see guys, our prompt is actually fixed for our delete credentials option. Nice. So now that that's fixed guys, let's see what else we'll need to do. I notice right here guys, we say if we have not removed something successfully, then we will print failed to remove the credential. But then it would also print this out since we are not returning or going back up to the beginning of the loop. So we'll actually need to fix this issue guys. So we can actually add a continue statement inside of this if statement, and that should actually solve our issue right there. And yeah, this should actually be good now guys. So let me just review this code a bit. And our menu system actually looks pretty good right now guys. Let me actually try to go back. Right, so if we go back, we're now in the vault menu. Nice. We can try to switch an account. We can switch into John. And his password 1 2 3 4. Nice. All right. We can try to view a credential. Let's test this out. So we can select one, and it's actually looking pretty good, guys. Nice. Right, so everything is actually working properly, guys. Let's actually try to, let's see. Let's go back to the main menu, and we can try to log out. So we can enter 5 to log out. You can see we logged out of the user John. let's try to actually create an account, guys, and see if this works. So we can create an account for another user. I don't know. Let's make this be Mox. Enter your master password. We can let it be, I don't know, secret 1234, secret 1234. And now our account has been created. Let's try to log in as that user Mox. So we can log in with our password secret1234, and we are successfully logged in as the user Mox. So let me just do some commits, guys, to our Git repository. So we can do git status, and we can do git add menu.py, and then we can say git commit -m implemented. Wait, let me actually clear the screen. We can say git commit, and then we can actually say implemented input validation color system and switch account feature. And let's save this, and now we can actually do a git push to our Git repository. Alright, guys, and we have successfully pushed commits to our GitHub. But actually, guys, there's one thing I forgot to do. Let's go in our menu.py, and let's actually change our version information to FlexPass 0.2. And now let's try to rerun our code. And now we have FlexPass version 0.2. Nice. And we can try to make our commit again, guys. So git status, git add menu.py, git commit -m, added new version info, git push, and let's push this to the repo. Alright, guys, and we have successfully pushed the commits to our GitHub repo. Right, so guys, this will actually be it for today's video. Let's think about what we could do next within our future video. So another feature we could probably implement, guys, is GUI integration in our password manager. So we'll have a graphical user interface version and also this command line interface version of our password manager. And we could also implement pagination. So if we have 1,000 passwords or platforms within our password manager, we won't overwhelm the user. Another thing we could implement is master password change. So that means if a user forgets their password, they could actually change it. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope you all learned something valuable. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe button. Stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.